Hey, Rebel Bankers, this is your host, Chris Naugle, and welcome back to the show, The Real Estate Money School. I'm really excited you guys are joining us, and I've got a special guest. We're going to be talking money. We're going to be talking private investment. We're going to be talking all sorts of really interesting stuff. So stay tuned for this because you guys are not going to want to miss this podcast. So I want to talk a little bit about you guys before I introduce the guest. I want to talk about your journey into real estate and your journey as it all kind of comes together with money. Money's always one of those things that's going to stand in your way. Money's always going to be one of those things you're going to be thinking about and you're going to be needing. And so many people get caught up in money and they don't ever get any further. They worry about it. They say, I don't have any money, so I can't do this today. Well, folks, that's what this podcast is for. It's to talk to you about successful people's journeys, how they've used money, how they've developed money, and how they've found money to grow so you can learn from their mistakes, from their journey, and you can get on your way to becoming a rebel banker. But I say this every single time, you guys, and you guys always hear me talk about the leap. You have to get started. You have to take action because if you just sit around thinking about something, trying to gather information, going out and always devouring information and knowledge, you're never going to get off the ground because it's not about the knowledge, folks. It's about the application of the knowledge and you taking action. So get started right now. Grab a copy of my book, The Private Money Guide. Check us out on Facebook and on Instagram for all of our upcoming events and all the awesome stuff we're doing. But with that being said, you know what I'm going to do? This speaker, this guest that we have on for today is so dynamic in what she does. I'm going to have her just start by telling you all about what she does, how she does it. So Annie, can you tell them a little bit about what you do? Just give them your whole business and what you're doing today, and then we're going to take a trip back in time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I own a private equity investment firm here in Phoenix. So our headquarters is here in Phoenix. We actually invest nationally. We actually specialize and focus on single family investing, and we do it in a very unique way. So a lot of the funds, a lot of the individuals that are out there typically try to buy in bulk, right? So you're out there buying somebody else's portfolio. Well, if it was a good portfolio, why are they selling? Right? And so there's always that question of why. If it's so good, why are you selling? And so what we've actually done is we actually go out and we are buying the individual properties and we're actually creating the portfolio. Now we do this for individuals, we do this for funds, we do this for a lot of different types of individuals that want to invest in real estate. And what's great about what it is that we do is we are actually full service. So it's a do for you, a DFY. So instead of a DIY, we're doing a DFY. And so we actually go through and we do the acquisition, instead of rentivation, we actually call it rentivation instead of renovation. And so it's a little bit of a distinction on the changes or the differences between what you're doing as a flipper and what you're doing as turning these into rentals, right? And then we go out and we do the remarketing of the property, we move the residents in, and we actually manage it for the long term all the way to the back end sale of the home. So we're doing everything, and it creates a very unique passive ability for our investors while still providing them that direct ownership benefit. So all of the advantages of having direct ownership without doing any of the work.
And I think that's so great because we were talking before, but just so all of you know kind of what she was just saying is like, it's unique because there's a lot of people out there, going out, buying properties, renovating them, and then putting them together and selling them off as a portfolio. But they're a lot of times selling off problems. So what they do different is they control all aspects, every aspect from start to finish of the entire process. So it's a controlled environment. They know the product that they have. They're managing the product. They've built the product. They put the tenants in. They did the background checks. I mean, think about that. When you control the whole process, just like Henry Ford, right? He controlled the entire process of his car manufacturing process. They control the entire process of their business from start to finish. So when they're selling these off to these investors and to, private funds or family offices or whatever they do, they understand their product better than anyone else. And I think that's fantastic. And you know what? There's not a lot of people doing what you're doing. So let's go back in time. Let's take a trip back to your beginning and tell everybody, where did you start? Because I know we talked about it and it's pretty unique. The check writing at, 7 years old?
7, yes.
7 years old. I want you to tell them about that. How you started, how you got into this, and the different things you had to go through in getting here with money and just anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. So my career as an entrepreneur is actually, let's start back at 5. So, I don't want to get anybody in trouble here, but being a large Italian family, we all started working at a very young age. So my grandparents were entrepreneurs. So at 5 years old, we were out, sweeping the shop. They owned a printing company. So we were out sweeping the shop, and this is what we did during the summers to make money. And so when I was very young, I think it was 5 or 6 years old, I made $500 in a summer working for my grandfather. And we opened up, my mom took us down. We opened up our bank account. We opened up a savings account down at Downey Savings. And, this is our first interaction with money, is, putting it away and watching the interest grow. And it was such a unique experience for me to grow up in that environment, because we really understood from an entrepreneurial standpoint, money coming in, money going out. So by the age of 7, my parents own their own business as well. At the age of 7, we'd be driving to the bank, and my mom's like, okay, Michelle, you need to, write these checks out to these vendors, and I need you to, pay all of the bills. And I'd be in the back seat writing out the checks. She'd obviously authorize all of them. And this is really how we understood what money was. So it was a very good education for us at a very young age to be able to do that. My real estate career, which I didn't quite understand it at the time, when I was in my early teens, 10, 11, 12 years old, my grandmother was actually a realtor in Southern California. And she was a very successful realtor. There was one year where she did over 300 REOs in a year.
Wow.
She's amazing. She's probably one of the biggest inspirations in my life. And I didn't realize at the time, I didn't make that connection until now, what she actually had to go through. But we would go in and we would clean out all of the REOs. We were there vacuuming and washing the windows. So it was always, you need to work hard, and you front load a lot of that effort in the beginning time of your life, so that you can actually live like nobody else can later.
That's awesome. Let me just segue, folks, I don't know if you all picked up on that. I don't know if you heard that correctly, but she didn't miss a number in there. 5 years old. 5 years old, she was, because of her family and because of the way that they grew up, she was in business at 5 years old. At 7 years old, she was writing checks. I want you to think about some of the problems that I talk about all the time with financial knowledge. And the biggest lack of knowledge in this country, and probably in the world, is financial education. It's something they don't teach in school. They don't teach it in college. They don't even teach it in trade schools. And even if they do teach it, they teach only what they want you to know, which is to be in financial slavery your whole life, right? Swipe the card, leverage this, leverage that, which keeps us needing to work. Think about that for a second. We're all on the hamster wheel. We're all on the financial hamster wheel because it's created that way. At 5 years old, she was taught and trained to not ever be on the financial hamster wheel. Now, she didn't really go into some of the things that I'm gonna get her to talk about, whether she likes it or not. But the financial hamster wheel is something that's going to trap each and every single one of you. She was fortunate to grow up in a family that had work ethic, that was in business, that basically pushed her right into this business at a young age. And because of that, she probably doesn't know anything different, but she got financial education at a young age. So not only that, but tell them a little bit more about that, the experiences when you were young, and kind of how that transitioned you and prepared you to get where you're at. Not just writing checks at 7, but like those other stories we were talking about. Tell them a little bit about that.
I actually love this story. So my grandfather, he came to us one time and he said, I don't know if you know anything about printing businesses, but do you remember going into the store and, having the coupons and you could rip it off of the cardboard? We created those. Well, our job was to put the plastic tabs on the back, because that was all manual. And so we'd sit down and he'd, give us a stack of them, and he'd say, okay, how many can you do in an hour? And so we'd, tell him how many we could do. And he'd say, okay, great. I'm going to pay you either 3 cents per, because this is in the 80s. Early 90s. And so he says, we can either pay you 3 cents per tab, or I can pay you X number of dollars per hour. And so we calculated it out, and he said, okay, this is how many you need to do in order to make more than $3 an hour. So that was my first education in working for myself and working on commission versus working for an hourly wage. 5 years old. And that was when we were like, oh, okay, this makes sense. So then you start, it just starts to create all of these entrepreneurial thoughts. And it's just having that ability. It's almost like an incubator for entrepreneurs in our family. So all of my sisters are business owners as well. And so it was just such a great experience for us at a time.
I think that's awesome. Of course, all of your family are business owners. It's just, you were born into it. And, and this country would be so different if people would just teach their kids. And folks, I'm not trying to point, blame on any parents, if any of you out there, but like, just think about this for a second. 5 years old, she started learning how to run a business. 7 years old, she learned about writing checks. What if every family or every school mandated that their kids learn these simple financial rules and these simple financial tools that we don't learn? We have to figure it out the hard way. We're almost forced to fail enough times. We have to fail ourselves forward. And a lot of people just, they're just like, I'm done. I don't want to fail anymore. Just how is it going to work? And then all of a sudden you're relying on someone else, and someone else is calling your future out. So not only did she start at such a young age, have such a great upbringing, in the family business, and she learned about commissions by putting tabs on the back, and she learned that she could make more money per hour by doing more work and basically focusing on efficiencies in her work. Holy crap. Wow. I mean, I'm literally sitting here thinking, what if that was just the one thing that everybody had to learn? That it's not just about, trading hours for dollars. What if not just trading hours for dollars, you could find a way to be more efficient and do a more productive and efficient job to get better production. And because you got better production, you were rewarded in making more money. I'm sorry, I'm almost falling out of my chair as you just saw. Like, that would change everything. But the sad thing is that won't happen, because they don't want it to happen. Not only did she learn that, but also the way she lives today is so smart. But many people that are watching this, and especially you, the folks that hear this or hear what she's going to say next, you're probably going to have misconceptions about how you're going to perceive this. And we're so used to pulling Instagram up or Facebook up and seeing all the flashy things, the flashy cars, the big houses, the big, things, the Rolexes, the fancy watches. Folks, we already were talking about financial slavery. It's nice to have nice things, and we all work really hard to have nice things, but do you ever really stop and think that those things are what are keeping you on the hamster wheel? Just tell them a little bit about like how you live, if you don't mind, because I know that that's kind of not something you always want to put out there, but it's so important. And I want you to all understand the reason she does this. It's not out of necessity. It's not because she has to. It's a choice. She had a choice, and she's taking that choice because she understands how money works, and she understands how investing in real estate works. Take it from there.
Absolutely. So I live in a 650 square foot condo in Phoenix, and I bought this for $50,000 many years ago, and it's where I live. And I've often had people ask me, why don't you get a bigger house? You can absolutely afford it. Why? That's always the question that I ask, is why? And, it's just myself, and I have a dog. And I mainly work out of my home because it's quiet, it's private. When we have to put our teams together, we'll go and, we'll rent a room for a day. But this actually keeps our costs very low. And this is actually one of the reasons that our investors love to work with us, is because of our frugality. And because we have a very good cost approach to investing in real estate. So when I go and I buy real estate, for me, it's very similar to when I go to Nordstrom's Rack, right? So when you go to Nordstrom's Rack and you're looking through the clothes, and it's like, this is a beautiful shirt. Oh, it's the wrong size, and you put it back. And then, oh man, this is great. Oh, it's got makeup on it, and you put it back. So we're literally going through, and as we are buying this real estate, I don't want just anything. I want the right thing, but I also want it for the right price. And so the reason that I'm so frugal is, number one, the way that I grew up. It goes back to, I understand the value of money. I understand delayed gratification. And it goes back to exactly what you were talking about with, we have this society of instant gratification where we can just swipe a card and it's bought and paid for, but we don't understand the implications of the interest on that credit card and how much it's actually going to cost in the long run. So rather than spending money on, buying the nice cars and buying, having the nice house, I'd rather spend my money and invest it and put my capital to work for me versus me working for more capital. And so this is going to allow me to, entrepreneurs will never retire, but what we would consider financial freedom, it will allow me to get to that financial freedom much faster than other people in my peer group.
And, I know this is a very controversial topic because a lot of people, they want the things they find every reason to say, oh, well, you live in that because, you can't afford a bigger house. But folks, she can afford any house she wants. Okay. let's just make that perfectly clear. This is a choice. And that choice is basically to not foolishly spend money, to buy foolish things that make us look like somebody that we're really not, to make us look fancy in the public eye so that people will want to be our friends for all the wrong reasons. So people will want to be our friends so that we can give them something, right? There's no giver's gain a lot of times in these fake relationships that are built on what's in it for me. And by her taking this choice, it's allowing her to keep, I don't even know the numbers. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars over time, millions of dollars. She's able to not spend on other people, other things, give it back to the banks, give it back to the institutions. She gets to keep that and put that into her business, into building her real assets that pay her. Because if you guys don't know this by now, when you buy a big fancy house, guess what you just bought? You just bought a big fancy liability, because your house will never be an asset. That's not what they are. They are a liability. And it's very difficult for people to understand how to take a liability and turn it into an asset. Most don't know how to do that. But she doesn't have to, because she's using that money that so many people, I used to do this when I was a financial advisor. I blew money. I made a lot of money, so I had the big fancy cars. Oh, yeah. I had the big fancy house. And you know what? When I didn't have it all, when I got caught in the whole financial crash, when I didn't have that stuff again, I was empty. I was empty because those things don't make you happy. They just make you think you're happy. And I could go on all day long, but I'm going to get off that rabbit hole there. But just think about that for a second. How much could you accomplish in your life? How many rentals could you buy if you didn't focus on all the flash, all the fancy things? If your goals changed to just building your assets and you gave up a little bit today, you lived simple today to get so much more later. That's how she was. That's what she was born into. 5 years. I'm trying to say fifth grade, but you were 5 years old when you started learning these simple financial principles. So I don't mean to talk so much. This is kind of about you. So let's get back into your client. Who is your ideal client that you work with your business?
So we have a few different clients that we work with. Our bread and butter is really helping the individual. So the motto of our company is building generational wealth, one family at a time. And we really, really take that to heart. And it took us a long time to develop that specific motto. And it comes to, it's one of the three pillars. So we focus on safety, security, and building generational wealth. And those are the three pillars of our milk stool, as you would. And so we focus on helping for preservation of capital, but we also want to help it to grow. Right, for not only for you, for your retirement, if you're already in retirement, to sustain that retirement, for building for generational wealth. So this is really our foundational principles that we like to provide to our clientele. So we work with individuals, typically C-level executives. A really large portion of our clients are in the medical fields, because as we all know, real estate provides tremendous tax benefits, and this is something that they really need. So they don't necessarily need more money, they just need more tax benefits. And so we're able to help individuals with whatever their needs are. And so I'm not a financial planner. I don't claim to be any kind of a financial planner, but what I do is I actually sit down with them and have a real conversation. Where are you right now? Where is it? Let's do some reverse engineering. Where do you see yourself in what you would consider retirement, right? How old are you? Are you your first wife or your second wife? That's a joke. So
it's not a joke. It's very real.
Yeah, in our society, it absolutely is. So, who is with you? How old are you? Are you on a beach? If you're on a beach, which beach is it? Are you in France or are you in Australia? Imagine yourself sitting there with the people that you love, having the lifestyle that you want, and let's reverse engineer it. How old are you? Okay, if that's 15 years from now, how do we get you to that level? What kind of income do you need? I didn't say cash. I didn't say cash in the bank. What is your income requirement to be able to sustain that lifestyle? Or do you want to sustain your current lifestyle? What does it look like for you? And let's reverse engineer that and figure out what we need to do today to get you to that point. Because a lot of the financial planners out there, they'll show you these numbers and they'll say, oh, okay, well, when you retire, where you're going to put X number of dollars away every single year, whatever that percentage is that is needed for you specifically. And they show you a number that you're going to get in retirement. Well, there's always a little asterisk at the bottom, and it says this also includes your Social Security. And the problem is, as we all are fully well aware, Social Security most likely is not going to be available for people in my generation.
Oh, it won't be.
And I doubt that it's going to be available for people that are senior to me as well. So a lot of these numbers that are being provided are not necessarily accurate. So you need to create a way that you're creating some preservation of capital, but also living off of the interest. And so with real estate, and I'm sure you're well aware of this, real estate is the preservation of capital because the money that you're putting into it is still secured by the asset. And then on top of that, you get to live off the interest, which is actually just the cash flow, but you never dip into that principal. And so this is what we're trying to create is we want to create an environment, and this is how you're creating that generational wealth. The capital is still preserved. It's still growing with the appreciation. You're still actually paying off, if you're doing leverage, you're still paying down that loan. And then on top of that, you get to live off of the cash flow. And so you never get to degrade the principal of your investment. And this is really what I love to show people. And they're like, this doesn't make any sense. Most people, they're saying, we're going to build up your cash wealth and then we're going to turn it into an annuity and then we're going to pay it for you. And, I don't know how long I'm going to live, but with medical advances, I'm sure that we're all going to be living quite a bit longer than the expectation is. So how is it that we're able to sustain that lifestyle, sustain that retirement, sustain those things? And this is how we're able to do it.
You said something really important, because I was a financial advisor for 16 years, drinking the Kool-Aid and everything. And that's exactly what we did. We taught people to park their good dollars today. Mm-hmm. Give the financial institutions all your good dollars today. Yep. The institutions will then invest that money, park that money, compound interest, whatever you want to call it, and grow that money over time so that when that big nest egg gets bigger, which then when it's bigger, guess what happens? You pay more taxes on that money. Then as advisors, we were taught to then keep control of that money, and that's what the annuities came in, park it in annuities so that it provides a steady stream of income, but never give that client control of assets. Now, folks, how many of you want to give up control of your money? How many of you want to give up control of your future, your buying power, your ability to make money in your money? Well, that's what they teach. And I hate to say it, but because I was in it, but that's the big lie. Yeah. Why wouldn't you control your money? Why wouldn't you control your destiny? And that's what real estate does. The wealthiest people, all wealthy people, I don't care how they get to their wealth, okay? Some make it in real estate, some make it in tech, some make it in all sorts of different ways. They get wealthy. You know how they stay wealthy? They know how money works and they control their assets, they control their money, and they buy real estate. They buy real estate for tax advantages. They buy real estate because it's a tangible asset. And they buy real estate because real estate makes and keeps you wealthy. That's exactly what you do. Yeah. Every day you do that for people, and that's phenomenal.
And what's great is that this is just one additional vehicle. I'm not telling people pull all of your money out of the stock market, fire your financial advisor. None of those things. They have value.
I'll say it. Get all your money out of the stock market. I can say that I have the background. You're a fool for keeping your money in the market right now.
Yeah,
I did it. Cat's out of the bag.
Okay. So what I like to do is we like to be very, very specialized. So I was taught to be not necessarily a jack of all trades where I've done one transaction in 100 different ways. Or 100 different types of transactions. What I do is we're very, very specialized, which means that we've got a great niche and we are very, very good at what we do. And so that's what you need to find. And, one of the things that I always tell people is like, if you are wanting to be an active real estate investor versus a passive, really understand what it is that you're getting yourself into, because this is not a weekend warrior kind of an environment. You are actually creating a second job for yourself. And if you have a family and you want to spend time with your family, really understand the implications. Talk to somebody that's actually out there busting their behind, making this happen on a day-to-day, because this is an actual business and it needs to be profitable. And that's what I tell a lot of people, this is no longer a hobby. If you're actually going to do this for real, this is no longer a hobby. This is a business. And homes are widgets, and your widget needs to make profit. And if it's not making you profit, that's where your business is going to fail. And this is how a lot of real estate investors in the last crash got in trouble, is because they over leveraged. They were buying properties that really they shouldn't have been purchasing. And when we're looking at properties, we want to make sure that they're always cash flowing. So people say, negative cash flow or negative gearing is okay because in a couple of years it'll be okay because it'll make money later. Okay, well, I don't know one business, one car manufacturer, one tech company that's going to say, it's cool if our cars are not making us any money. Every single car has to make them profit, or they shouldn't be selling it because they're just digging their grave faster. So the more you sell on that kind of a model, the more you're going to lose, the faster you're going to fall. So you've got to make sure that it's going to cash flow.
Yep. So. Invest in cash flowing assets.
Absolutely.
So if this is great stuff, and this is some serious gold nuggets, and this is very different than the other episodes we've done. And I love that because we keep bringing dynamic people on this show to talk about things that are not being talked about, that you're not hearing about. So this is like that secret sauce. This is that secret sauce that you're not going to learn unless you seek that knowledge. And here it is, folks, right here on the Real Estate Money School, dropping the financial golden nuggets. If people wanted to get a hold of you and they wanted to learn more about investing with you or taking part in the things you're doing, how would they do that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways. So they can always reach out via our website, which is www.amagrande.com. It's AMAGRANDE.com. You can also reach out to us directly on our phone number, which is 480-542-7772, or you can reach out to me directly. This is my personal email address. It's Anne, ANNE, @amagrande.com.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So you heard it right there. A very different twist on something that you all know about or have heard about, but being done completely different in a more controlled environment. So I love this, and I think you guys love it too. So I hope you got a lot out of today. But let's go back to your journey. Let's talk a little bit again about your journey to becoming a rebel banker. Folks, there are so many ways you can get ahead, so many ways you can take control of your finances and take control of your money and your future. It all starts now. You have to take that leap. You have to stop listening to the people in your life that are telling you can't do this, you shouldn't do this for one reason or the other, and you need to start focusing on your dreams, your goals. And then when these people come to you and say you shouldn't do this, ask them why and if they've ever done it. And the answer is almost always, no, I've never done it, but I heard about it here, or but I did this. If there's the word but in there, dismiss that. Put them in timeout and march forward towards your goals and your dreams. Because if you allow everybody else to control your destiny, welcome to the world of financial slavery. You will stay there. So do not do that. Get started right now. Grab a copy of the book, The Private Money Guide. My book teaches you all about where all the money is to fund all those deals, and seek all the knowledge from people like Anne and all the other great people that have been on this podcast. Folks, thank you so much for your time, for joining me on this episode of the Real Estate Money School, and we'll see you all on the next one. Anne, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a real pleasure. And
I had such a great time. I mean, these are the types of things that I really love to discuss, and I love to help people to really understand the financial implications. So I really appreciate you and all the things you're doing on your podcast.
Awesome. We're honored to have you. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you on the next episode.